Now we come to the next stage of the Vicar of Wakefield. The title of this phase is Phase 3, Deception and the Horse Fairs, chapters 12 to 16. Before we look at the individual events, I want you to understand the central movement of this entire section. In the previous phase, the Primrose family became attracted to fashionable society. They wanted to improve their appearance. They wanted their daughters, Olivia and Sophia, to enter fashionable circles in London. They wanted the approval of wealthy and socially important people. Now, in chapters 12 to 16, that desire begins to produce serious consequences. The family starts making decisions based on appearance rather than reality. And whenever people become excessively concerned with appearance, they become vulnerable to deception. That is exactly what happens here. So the movement of this phase can be remembered as desire for fashion, right pointing arrow, deception, right pointing arrow, misjudgment, right pointing arrow, loss of a true friend. And the 3 steps shown on the slide are: Step 1, the desire for fashion. Step 2, the swindle. Step 3, the banished alley. Let us take each step slowly and understand the story as though we are watching it happen in front of us. Step 1, the desire for fashion. Look at the first box. It says, the desire for fashion. This is the starting point of the trouble. Remember what happened in the previous chapters. The Primrose family has become excited about fashionable society. The daughters, especially Olivia and Sophia, are being encouraged to enter a more fashionable social world. The squire has promised to recommend them. There is even a possibility of the girls going to London. But there is a problem. Fashion costs money. The family has already lost its fortune. So they face a contradiction. They want to appear wealthy and fashionable, but they do not have the money necessary to support that lifestyle. This is a very important theme in the novel. The family is poor, but it wants to look prosperous. And that creates the first danger. Why do they need money? The family begins thinking about how to obtain money for the girls' fashionable appearance and proposed journey to town. They look around their household and ask, what can we sell? They decide to sell one of their horses. The horse is called Colt. The plan is simple. Sell the horse. Get money. Use the money to purchase a more fashionable riding horse. Why do they want a better horse? Because appearance matters to them now. They do not simply want a horse for practical farming. They want something that will help the girls appear fashionable. This is a subtle but important change. Earlier, the family used things because they were useful. Now they are beginning to think about things in terms of social appearance. Moses is sent to the horse fair. Dr. Primrose is not feeling well, so Moses is sent to the fair to sell the horse. The family has considerable confidence in Moses. They think he is clever at business. They believe he can bargain successfully. This is actually humorous because the family is overconfident about his abilities. They believe Moses will certainly make a good bargain. The reader, however, is prepared for something very different. Goldsmith uses dramatic irony here. The family is confident, but the reader can sense that something is going to go wrong. Moses is dressed up carefully before he leaves. His sisters help prepare him. They arrange his clothes and appearance. This itself is humorous. The family is not simply sending Moses to sell a horse. They are preparing him almost as though he is going to attend a fashionable social event. This reinforces the theme. Appearance has become extremely important to the family. The horse fair. Now imagine the horse fair. There are traders. Horses are being bought and sold. People are bargaining. Everyone is trying to get the best possible deal. Moses enters this environment believing that he is a capable businessman. But he is inexperienced, and an experienced swindler knows exactly how to manipulate an inexperienced buyer. This brings us to step 2. Look at the second box. It says, the swindle. The central figure here is Ephraim Jenkinson. Jenkinson is a professional trickster and swindler. He is extremely good at disguising himself and presenting different appearances to different people. This is important because the whole phase is about appearance versus reality. Jenkinson looks like one person in one situation and another person in another situation. He uses disguise and deception to gain people's confidence. And he is particularly successful because the Primroses themselves are already interested in appearances. Moses is deceived. Moses goes to the fair expecting to make a profitable transaction. Instead, he is tricked. He returns without the horse. And what does he bring back? A case of supposedly valuable spectacles. He believes that he has made an excellent bargain. The family initially expects that Moses has been successful. But when Dr. Primrose examines the spectacles carefully, the truth becomes clear. The supposedly valuable frames are not what Moses thought they were. The family has been deceived. Moses has exchanged something valuable for something practically worthless. The supposed silver spectacles are not genuinely silver. The family has been cheated. This is one of the great comic scenes in the novel. Why is this scene funny? Think about Moses's confidence. He leaves the house looking like a successful businessman. Everyone believes he will return with a good bargain. Instead, he returns without the horse. And instead of money, he has a useless purchase. The contrast is hilarious. The family expected horse to money. What they actually received was horse to worthless spectacles. This is Goldsmith's comedy of human foolishness. The family thinks it is becoming sophisticated, but its attempts to enter the world of fashion make it easier for clever people to deceive them. The deeper meaning of the swindle. Students, do not treat this merely as a funny incident. It has a deeper meaning. The family wants to look sophisticated, but they lack real experience in the world of commerce and fashion. Therefore, their desire for sophistication becomes a weakness. This gives us an important formula. Vanity creates vulnerability. They want something fashionable. Because they want it badly, they become less careful. Because they become less careful, they are deceived. So, desire, carelessness, deception, loss. This is one of the most important psychological patterns in this section. But the deception does not end with Moses. Now comes an important development. After Moses is cheated, Dr. Primrose decides that he will handle the next horse transaction himself. This is where Goldsmith's humor becomes even stronger. Dr. Primrose thinks, if Moses has failed, I will do it myself. But the problem is that Dr. Primrose is not an experienced businessman either. He is a clergyman. He is much more comfortable discussing theology than bargaining in a horse market. Yet his pride makes him confident. So he goes to the fair himself with the family's remaining horse, Blackberry. Dr. Primrose at the fair. Now imagine Dr. Primrose standing at the horse fair. He is trying to sell Blackberry. But Blackberry is not an especially attractive horse. The horse has physical defects, including being one-eyed. Potential buyers notice the defects. Dr. Primrose becomes uncomfortable. He is not succeeding as a horse dealer. And once again Goldsmith gives us comedy through the difference between self-confidence and actual ability. Dr. Primrose thinks he can succeed. Reality proves otherwise. Jenkinson appears again. At the fair, Dr. Primrose encounters a respectable-looking older gentleman. This man appears intelligent. He speaks impressively. He seems educated. He even behaves generously toward a poor child. Dr. Primrose is impressed. This is extremely important. Why? Because Dr. Primrose is attracted to appearance. The man looks respectable. He speaks intelligently. He appears charitable. And then the man begins discussing intellectual and religious subjects with Dr. Primrose. This makes Dr. Primrose even more impressed. The stranger also knows about Dr. Primrose's theological writings. So Dr. Primrose feels flattered. He thinks, this man understands my ideas. And because his pride is being satisfied, his suspicion becomes weaker. This is a very important psychological moment. Students, watch carefully what happens here. The stranger does not simply say, I want to buy your horse. First, he wins Dr. Primrose's confidence. How? Through conversation, intelligence, flattery, social appearance, and apparent generosity. Only after gaining Dr. Primrose's trust does he make the business proposal. This is how effective deception works. A skilled deceiver does not always begin by asking for something. First, the deceiver makes you trust him. Then the deception becomes possible. The horse is sold. Eventually, the stranger agrees to buy Blackberry. But there is a problem. He does not have the necessary cash immediately. Instead, he gives Dr. Primrose a written order or draft involving Solomon Flamborough. Dr. Primrose accepts it. He trusts the man. The transaction appears complete. The stranger leaves with the horse. But then Dr. Primrose begins to feel uneasy. He checks with Flamborough, and the truth is revealed. He has been cheated. The man is Ephraim Jenkinson. And Jenkinson has already cheated Moses. So now we have a remarkable comic pattern. First, Moses is deceived by Jenkinson. Then, Dr. Primrose is deceived by Jenkinson. The father has essentially repeated the son's mistake. The great irony. This is where Goldsmith's irony becomes especially sharp. Dr. Primrose is a man who gives advice to other people. He believes himself to be wise. He thinks he understands human behavior. But he himself is easily deceived by flattery and appearances. He becomes so pleased when the stranger admires his intellectual abilities that he stops thinking critically. So the lesson is, pride can make an intelligent person foolish. You do not have to be unintelligent to be deceived. You can be educated and still be deceived if your ego prevents you from being cautious. The two swindles to remember. For examinations, remember this sequence clearly. Moses Colt Horsefair Spectacles cheated. Then, Dr. Primrose Blackberry Horsefair Jenkinson False Payment cheated. The same swindler, Ephraim Jenkinson, is behind both incidents. This repetition creates comic symmetry. Now comes step 3, the banished ally. Look at the third box. It says, the banished ally. This is where the story becomes more emotionally serious. The person involved is Mr. Burchell. Remember Burchell from the previous phase. He is poor, he is intelligent, he is kind, he saved Sophia from drowning. He repeatedly gives the family sensible advice. But the family increasingly dislikes his advice because his advice does not agree with their ambitions. He warns them to be cautious about fashionable society and the proposed movement to London. But they do not want to hear caution. They want encouragement. This is a very realistic aspect of human behavior. Sometimes we do not really want advice. We want someone to tell us, you are absolutely right. Burchell writes a letter. Burchell becomes increasingly concerned about Olivia and Sophia being sent to London. He writes a letter intended to warn the ladies associated with Thornhill about the dangers of taking the Primrose girls into fashionable society. His intentions are protective, but the letter is written in such a way that it can easily be misunderstood. This is extremely important. The letter does not simply say, I love these girls and want to protect them. Instead, it contains strong criticism and warnings about the situation. Because the Primrose family already suspects Burchell, they interpret the letter in the worst possible way. This is an example of misinterpretation. The same action can be understood differently depending on what we already believe about a person. The letter case. One of the Primrose children finds a letter case belonging to Burchell. Inside is a sealed copy of the letter. The family becomes suspicious. They think, this must be the person who has damaged our daughter's reputation. But instead of stopping and asking Burchell for an explanation, they open the letter. This is itself a morally questionable act. They invade Burchell's privacy, and then they read the letter without understanding his real intention. This is a crucial point. The family thinks, we have discovered Burchell's villainy. But the reader should be more cautious. The family is already emotionally prepared to believe that Burchell is guilty. So they interpret everything according to their existing prejudice. Why does the family believe Burchell? There are several reasons. First, they already dislike his criticism of their fashionable ambitions. Second, Mrs. Primrose thinks Burchell is socially unsuitable. Third, they want to believe that the failure of their plans is someone else's fault. This is psychologically very realistic. When something goes wrong, people often ask, who is responsible? And sometimes they choose a person before they have sufficient evidence. That is what happens here. Burchell is banished. When Burchell appears, the family confronts him. They do not give him a fair opportunity to explain himself. They are angry. They accuse him. They believe he has deliberately harmed the girl's reputation. Burchell becomes angry in return. Eventually, he leaves. The family has effectively banished him. And this is one of the great ironies of this section. They have driven away one of the few people who genuinely wants to protect them. They reject the person who is giving them sensible advice. And they trust people who flatter them. So we get another important formula. Truth is rejected because it is unpleasant. Flattery is accepted because it is pleasant. Why is Burchell called the banished ally? The phrase is very carefully chosen. An ally is someone who supports or helps us. Burchell is actually an ally of the Primrose family. He has already demonstrated this through his actions. He saved Sophia. He gives them advice. He tries to protect the girls. But the family does not recognize his loyalty. Instead, they treat him as an enemy. So the phrase, the banished ally, contains irony. They have expelled someone who is actually on their side. This is one of the major examples of dramatic irony in the novel. The family thinks, Burchell is our enemy. But the larger story will reveal that their judgment is completely mistaken. The deeper contrast between Burchell and Jenkinson. Now notice something very clever. During this section, two very different men enter the family's life. Ephraim Jenkinson and Mr. Burchell. Jenkinson is a deceiver. Burchell is a genuine protector. But the family has difficulty recognizing the difference. Why? Because they judge people according to appearances and immediate impressions. Jenkinson can appear respectable. Burchell can appear poor and socially unsuitable. Therefore, the family repeatedly makes the wrong judgment. This is exactly what Goldsmith wants us to notice. Appearance versus reality. AGAIN. This theme is now becoming stronger. Jenkinson. Appearance. Respectable and intelligent. Reality. Swindler. Burchell. Appearance. Poor and socially unsuitable. Reality. Loyal and protective. The Primrose family. Appearance. Respectable and morally serious. Reality. Capable of vanity, prejudice, pride, and poor judgment. So Goldsmith does not merely criticize individual villains. He examines the human tendency to judge by appearances. The fortune tracker. Now look at the graph at the bottom. The fortune line is already very low. It remains low, then it falls further. This represents another decline in the family's circumstances. They are not recovering financially. In fact, their attempts to improve their appearance are costing them even more. This is an important irony. They want to become fashionable because they have lost their wealth. But their pursuit of fashion causes further financial and emotional problems. So the family's situation can be described as low fortune plus high vanity plus poor judgment is equal to further trouble. Why the horse fair is important symbolically. The horse fair is more than simply a location where horses are bought and sold. It becomes a symbolic setting for deception and bargaining. Everyone is trying to evaluate value. What is this horse worth? What is this object worth? Who is telling the truth? Who is exaggerating? Who is hiding something? And that connects perfectly with the larger theme of the novel. How do we know the true value of a person? A horse may look valuable but have serious defects. A pair of spectacles may appear to be silver but actually be worthless. A man may look respectable but be a swindler. A poor man may appear insignificant but possess genuine moral worth. So the horse fair becomes almost a miniature version of society itself. Everyone is trying to determine value. And everyone can be deceived. The comedy of human foolishness. Goldsmith does not present these events only as tragedy. He makes them funny. Why? Because the characters often contribute to their own problems. Moses is overconfident. Dr. Primrose is overconfident. The family is vain. They want fashionable things. They trust appearances. They ignore warnings. They make assumptions. This allows Goldsmith to laugh at human weakness without completely condemning his characters. The comedy comes from recognizing ourselves in them. We may think, how could Moses be so foolish? But then we realize that ordinary people also make foolish decisions when they are excited, proud, flattered, greedy, or desperate to impress others. Chapters 12 to 16 as a chain of cause and effect. Now let us connect everything. The family wants fashion. Because they want fashion, they need money. Because they need money, they sell their horse. Because they are inexperienced, Moses is deceived. Because Moses is deceived, Dr. Primrose decides to take responsibility. Because Dr. Primrose is proud and flattered, he is also deceived. Meanwhile, Burchell warns the family against their social ambitions. Because they dislike his advice, they become suspicious of him. Because they become suspicious of him, they misinterpret his letter. Because they misinterpret the letter, they banish him. So the entire section can be understood as one long chain: vanity, financial pressure, deception, misjudgment, loss of a true friend. An important moral lesson. Students, notice that the family's greatest problem is not simply poverty. Poverty itself does not destroy them. Their desire to escape the appearance of poverty creates additional problems. This is a very important distinction. There is nothing morally wrong with wanting a better life. But there is danger in allowing status, appearance, vanity, and social approval to control our decisions. Goldsmith is essentially saying, if you constantly try to impress society, you may eventually become blind to reality. What should we learn from Burchell? Burchell teaches us another important lesson. Sometimes the person who gives us the advice we dislike may actually be the person who cares about us most. Imagine a parent telling a child, "Don't trust this person." The child may think, "My parent doesn't understand me." But sometimes the warning comes from experience and genuine concern. Similarly, Burchell's warnings are not motivated by hatred. They are motivated by concern. The Primrose family cannot recognize this because their vanity has already influenced the judgment. Important exam points. Let us pause and organize the high-value facts. The Primroses want to maintain a fashionable appearance despite their poverty. They decide to sell colts so that they can obtain money and improve their circumstances. Moses goes to the fair. He is deceived and returns with supposedly valuable spectacles instead of the horse. Then Dr. Primrose goes to the fair with the other horse, Blackberry. He encounters Ephraim Jenkinson, who wins his confidence through appearance, conversation, and flattery. Jenkinson obtains the horse through a fraudulent payment arrangement and disappears. Dr. Primrose discovers that he too has been cheated. Meanwhile, Mr. Burchell warns against sending Olivia and Sophia into the fashionable world. The family interprets his warning as hostility. A letter connected with Burchell is discovered and read. The family assumes that Burchell is responsible for damaging the girls' prospects. They therefore reject and banish him. The crucial irony is that the family has mistaken a genuine protector for an enemy. One very important correction to remember. There is a subtle point in the slide that you should understand carefully. The slide says that Burchell writes a letter, ambiguously threatening the girls' reputations. For examination purposes, do not understand this as Burchell maliciously threatening the girls. His intention is actually protective. He is attempting to warn the fashionable ladies against taking Olivia and Sophia to London. The wording is strong and the family interprets it negatively, which is why the misunderstanding becomes so serious. So the important idea is, Burchell's intention protection, family's interpretation betrayal. That difference between intention and interpretation is crucial to understanding the scene. The bigger irony. Now we can see the beautiful irony Goldsmith creates. The family wants to enter a sophisticated society. But their attempts to become sophisticated make them look foolish. They want fashionable horses. They are cheated at the horse fair. They want fashionable connections. They trust the wrong people. They reject the man who gives them sensible advice. They want to improve their social reputation. But their vanity and poor judgment repeatedly damage it. So the family is trying to move upward socially. Yet their behavior keeps pushing them into deeper trouble. Final story recap. Let us now tell chapters 12 to 16 as one continuous story. The Primrose family becomes excited about the possibility of entering fashionable society. They need money for this new lifestyle. They therefore decide to sell one of their horses. Moses is sent to the horse fair. He is confident that he can make a good bargain. Instead, he is deceived and returns with worthless spectacles. The family discovers that he has been cheated. Dr. Primrose then decides that he will personally sell their remaining horse. He goes to the fair. There he meets a respectable-looking and intelligent stranger. The stranger flatters him and wins his confidence. The stranger is actually Ephraim Jenkinson, a professional swindler. Dr. Primrose allows himself to be deceived and loses the horse without receiving genuine payment. When he discovers the truth, he realizes that the same type of deception has already happened to Moses. At the same time, Burchell has been warning the family about their plans to enter fashionable society. Because his advice is unpleasant, they begin to suspect him. A letter connected with Burchell is discovered. They interpret it as evidence that he has deliberately damaged the girl's reputation. They do not properly investigate his intentions. Instead, they accuse him and drive him away. Thus, the family loses not only money and possessions, but also the friendship of someone who is actually trying to protect them. Final memory formula. If you want to remember the entire slide in a few seconds, use this. Fashion right pointing arrow HORSE right pointing arrow SWINDLE right pointing arrow LETTER right pointing arrow BURCHELL. Or even more simply, want to look rich right pointing arrow, need money right pointing arrow, get cheated right pointing arrow, misjudge Burchell right pointing arrow, lose a true ally. And remember the 3 steps exactly as they appear on the slide. Step 1. The desire for fashion. The family wants fashionable appearances and needs money. Step 2. The swindle. Moses and then Dr. Primrose are deceived by Ephraim Jenkinson at the horse fair. Step 3. The banished alley. Burchell tries to protect the girls, but his intentions are misunderstood and the family drives him away. The deepest lesson of this phase is, when people become obsessed with appearances, they may fail to recognize reality. The family mistakes wealth for worth, appearance for character, flattery for friendship, and finally, a protector for an enemy. And that is why chapters 12 to 16 are so important. The family's financial problems are continuing, but an even more dangerous problem is developing. The judgment is becoming unreliable. They are not merely being deceived by other people. They are also beginning to deceive themselves about what they see, what they want, and whom they should trust.